Hi everyone, it's Teddy, aka JamesKisau on MTGO, and I wanted to try something a little different today. Times are hard for classic 8 cantrip, 4 Strix, Grixis Control with the meta figuring out where Bowmasters are best, so I'm trying something inspired by Scam and the recent Esper lists. I trophied with this list recently, but did not get published. Congratulations to Yohn, Yohn, MTGO username, for getting that Grixis representation in the MTGO dumps. Keep up the good fight, dude. So the main idea for this deck is that you have your classic Grixis Control shell of efficient removal spells, cheap interaction, but also powerful 2-for-1s like Kolaghan's Command. And within that package, you also have this combo of Troll of Khazad-dûn and Reanimate, which allows you to not only fix your mana. You'll notice that I went down to 19 lands, which is pretty much anathema for any Grixis Control deck I want to play, but we're going to try it. It swamp cycles for 1 generic, so you don't have to even worry about it through a Blood Moon or something like that. And then you can reanimate it for 1 black and get this mega evasive 6/5 creature. It can't be blocked except by 3 or more creatures, so it's like Menace plus. It's pretty good, and it ends games pretty quickly. Playing with this really brought me back to the Gurmag Angler days. And Reanimate on its own is a pretty strong card, even in a fair capacity. I've had a lot of matches against Red Stompy or Prison where I just deal with their Caves of Chaos adventure and reanimate it, and that really puts them on the back foot, whereas in the past maybe you want to try and get on board already with like a flash creature like Orcish Bowmasters or Snapcaster Mage to steal the initiative that way. So Reanimate's really overperformed for me. I don't see it always being a great fair card for control decks, but at least right now in the meta it's weirdly well positioned. And then the other card I don't usually play is Grief. Having extra discard spells is really nice when you're up against a really linear deck, but also against fair decks. Sometimes you can collapse their strategy pretty easily just by taking a key card. And this card also combos with Reanimate. The classic, I believe they call it Scam in Modern. You have this pitch elemental, you think it's gone, but actually it's right back with Reanimate, and then you get to take another card too. And from the Catacombs, don't worry about that too much. I just, I love playing with the card. And I thought in a deck with a lot more creatures, why not have an additional Reanimate effect that also did some insane shit on the side, like give you the initiative. Sideboard, incredibly standard. I'm still really respecting 4 Aerolingus. That card is tough for Grixis to beat. And we got a Thoughtseize. Yeah, this is all pretty normal stuff. And I thought about maybe adding a second Blood Moon just to fight the over-the-top 4 or 5 color decks and also land strategies. Since we're working with this basic cycler, it feels a lot easier to play through Blood Moon, but we'll see. The only cut that I could see moving the Blood Moon for was a Meltdown, and those matchups are pretty tough. I think you want both Meltdowns. But yeah, that's the deck. I'm not very experienced piloting more low-to-the-ground decks, but I'm sure we can make this a learning experience all the same. And yeah, let's jump into a league, and I hope you stick with me. Alright, let's get to it. Winning the die roll is pretty sweet. And this hand looks like some pretty standard Grixis Control. I'm going to keep it. Endless possibilities, and if we get force checked, well, we got the force. Now let's just see what happens. Hold up Cling to Dust. Watery Grave. Either Budget, which I guess doesn't really exist online, or Shadow. I'm going to guess Shadow. And there's nothing really worth protecting. Our hand is so amorphous. It could be anything. Virtually Thoughtseize proof unless they're all in on a Reanimate strategy. Reanimate a Troll or a Street Wraith or something. If I were thought seizing this hand, I'd probably take Ponder. And they agree. Now this is a Wasteland deck, so I'm not super stoked about grabbing a Badlands here and casting Cling to Dust. So let's go to our turn. Brazen Borrower, cool. Always love a flash threat against a deck that lowers its own life total. We're going to play land go. Alright, they're cycling the Troll, getting another Watery Grave, shocking that in down to 14, and then nothing. This will be a good time to resolve a Brainstorm while there is no threat of Bowmasters getting flashed in. We might see them also Brainstorm in response. Instead they want a Daze. Are they going to stifle me? Sure, I'll bite. The opportunity to just invalidate one of their spells it's too good to pass up. And I'm going to trust in one of these cantrips delivering a land. Alright, cool. Snapcaster Mage is kind of a good thing for later. I was hoping to find something a little more proactive, but we got stuff to do, I guess. I'll draw that island, and we will continue to play land go here. Snap Ponder, you could do that, but I just don't think we know enough about what we need to fight against. We don't know if we're fighting a Murktide Regent or Bowmasters or what. And that is a Dazeable line as well. Alright, looks like a 1/1 Death Shadow. We don't know how many Street Wraiths are in hand though. Could be a lot. I'm in for another Brainstorm here. Let's keep moving things around. I like Baleful Strix. All basics are accounted for other than our basic mountain, it looks like. So let's go ahead and check the shadow with this Strix. We are drawing Wild next turn. Hymn to Turok. I'd like to keep this Snapcaster Mage if possible. It's not really a guarantee. Ideally, this will just knock Cling to Dust and Swamp out of my hand, but we all know Hymn plays by its own rules. Alright, what will happen? Alright, we lose the Force of Will and the Cling to Dust. That could have been a lot worse. Now if they want to send damage, they'll need a Fatal Push for this Baleful Strix. Okay, they're going to reanimate the Troll. That is entirely fine with me. Do they know about Brazen Borrower? No, they don't. Okay, cool. They are unaware of this Brazen Borrower. Lightning Bolt, it's a good draw. Bolt Snap Bolt, looking pretty good. Let's be patient for now. I was going to say, I almost wouldn't mind if they Force of Will that. Then we'll just have one card to worry about in hand. And they're not any closer to dealing with this Baleful Strix. We are at 19 life, which is pretty comfortable. There's an island. And they do want to check this Strix. That means they probably have another Death Shadow in hand. Definitely taking the block. Okay, that happens. And Reanimate. Okay. And a Murktide Regent. I believe that's game. They have Troll and then one other card in hand. And we can beat a Spell Pierce. Sweet. Troll of our own. Game 1 goes to Grixis. Against Shadow, in my testing I've really liked Blood Moon. More so on the play, but as a highly disruptive build, and even though we saw some basics there at the end. They usually just can't play through a Blood Moon, while we can quite easily with our trolls. Plague Engineer is great. Spell Pierce, Flusterstorm, those are nice, especially that I know they're on Hymn to Turok. A lot of the newer decks are more up on Orcish Bowmasters, and with the troll package they just trim on him since it's not really what it used to be. Let's get Force of Will out of here, and also from the Catacombs on the draw, bring it back on the play. Then cut one troll, since they are a Reanimate deck, as we saw. You could cut a Red Blast. I usually use it to fight Murktide and not much else out of the deck unless you really want something to resolve and you're battering their counter spells. I usually trim a Red Blast sometimes, like 2 can be enough since its primary job is answering Murktide Regent and we're not as concerned about their counter spells. And I think I'm good to trim a Grief 4 drops against the Daze deck, and also 2 for 1ing yourself is not great against the Hymn deck. Even Shadow without him, a lot of it comes down to some tight resource management, and pitch casting a Grief is not as effective as it is against a combo deck that has a linchpin that is easily stripped. Not a very exciting hand, but it has basics, Lightning Bolt for an early Bowmasters, Red Blast can mess with their progression, then Snapcaster Mage for the late game is pretty nice. Another Lightning Bolt. Well, if you count the Snapcaster Mage, that's 9 points of burn represented. They might have to respect that. That is how we got over the line in game 1. They're starting with a Shocked Watery Grave and cycling the Troll, sure. Hymn to Turok. I'm going to start with a Brainstorm, see if they daze. No daze, okay. Out of all of these cards, Snapcaster and Bowmasters are the least redundant, so I'm going to put them back on top. Even if this Hymn nukes 2 lands, I think we'll be able to function on 2 lands, okay. Okay, it nuked a couple bolts, that's fine with me. Next turn we'll definitely ponder, while there's no Bowmasters represented. I think that's better than holding up a Bowmasters that can get blown out by Daze. Okay, there's Blood Moon as well, but no basic Swamp. I think that's still fine. Oh, and Narset, of course. Another super good one. Blood Moon is a bit of a must counter for them if they're not prepared to fight it. And they did not get a basic off their Troll. I don't really want to shuffle any of this away, though. But of the 3, I think Snap is probably the most for later. Put Blood Moon in hand. They might feel like they have to take it, which would be good because I don't really want to play it. There we go. Let's see if I'm right. Nope, they take Bowmasters instead. And then they're going to Brainstorm. I could Red Blast this, but I just don't want to. Perhaps they're searching for a basic land or counter magic for Blood Moon. No land drop. Okay. Let's go ahead and draw Narset. And then play this basic mountain. And then I still want to stay ahead of Daze. They didn't play a land drop, so I know they won't next turn either. Oh, never mind. Did they Daze and I just forgot about it? Huh. They might have been baiting me into playing Blood Moon. Although that doesn't make much sense. And I suppose them taking Bowmasters makes it a little easier of a decision to just kind of slam Blood Moon next turn. Draw Snapcaster Mage, fetch out a basic island, and see what they have to say about it. And here's the fetch. Island or Swamp? Island or Swamp? Island. I think that makes sense. Brainstorm, I don't really want to fight over this. And now I guess it is making sense why they took Bowmasters if their whole plan kind of hinged on being able to brainstorm into what they need. This resolves. I'm going to let that resolve, and then if they have Murktide after that, I really don't want that to resolve. Although Snapcaster on Red Blast maybe made that play a little unnecessary. But Red Blasting something that's not either an X for 1 or something that's going to kill me doesn't always feel that great. Scenarios in which I would Red Blast a cantrip. If the game was pretty much locked up but a little tenuous and the right bomb could break it open to the other side. That's happened in Delver matches before, and I just want to Red Blast that. Okay, they're cycling the Troll. Looks like they'll have their basics set up. And they're going to reanimate the Troll. Okay, cool. Undeniably a fast clock. Do they know about Snap? They don't know about Snap. That's right. Let's pick up Snapcaster Mage and play Narset. That might divert some of the damage towards her. Especially if they want to keep cantripping. And if I find a Lightning Bolt, then the end is just kind of in sight for that. They're going to force. Okay. I will Red Blast this. We know they can't have another one because one of their last cards is Swamp. But they could have a Daze. They're also at 5, so in a couple turns, if they swing with Troll, and I flash in Snapcaster Mage, bolt them. Ooh, Reanimate of our own. That's probably better than Brainstorm. Especially if they crack one more fetch, then Snap, Bolt, and then Reanimate Bowmasters is lethal. They might ignore Narset. I think that would be a mistake. Giving me yet another card with a high amount of selection just seems like suicide. I'd like to dodge him to Turok here. Okay, yeah, they are attacking Narset, which gives us another turn. Kind of cool. Because they wanted to ponder. No Shuffle, Death Shadow, scary stuff. Although this does not kill us. Wasteland. So it looks like their last card is a Swamp. Troll. So they basically have one draw step. If we do Reanimate Troll to find something that can either block Troll, or they probably wouldn't do that because then they'd have to give up on attacking. I don't know if they have any removal spells for Troll. Snuff Out doesn't work. Fatal Push doesn't work. Edict won't work because we'll flash in Snapcaster Mage. So I think this line is good. Ponder. Scary stuff. No Shuffle either. What could that mean? Did they find a removal spell? Let's find out. Well, we're going to blocks. Blocks happen. Alright, we did it. Looks like we win the die roll again. And this hand is pretty soft to Blood Moon and Wasteland, but it's hard to throw back. We have solid interaction. And Orcish Bowmasters does some pretty good gatekeeping against certain combo decks. We'll Masquerade as Delver. Like Delver wouldn't have a turn 1 play, though. Rainforest Pass. Maybe they're the real Delver. Oh, nice. Hitting a land drop is cool. Tundra. Alright, I suspect some kind of Uro deck, which is going to be tough for us to beat. It could also be a very cagey cephalid breakfast deck. The lands keep coming. Pretty cool. Curving out. As long as this interaction is relevant. Well, I guess this is what Bowmasters was made for, huh? A lot of these decks are running Wasteland now, so I'm going to get a basic Swamp for the stability. And it's pretty free with this hand. Alright, they're going to force. That's awesome. Oftentimes in these blue mirrors, just getting 4 pings and a 4/4 body isn't really worth it, and Bowmasters really wants to instead pick off an X1 or another Bowmasters most of the time, honestly. So the fact that they forced it is actually pretty good news for us, and also tells us that they're looking to play a long game and they're not really prepared to answer a 4/4, or it's just that much of a nuisance. Perhaps they're planning on doing some more cantripping. Delighted Halfling. Okay, so this is probably just a Halfling pile of some kind, or a One Ring. All that lovely stuff. Let's send a Bolt there. Alright, cool. Ponder. I'm down with that. Plague Engineer on Hamster could end up being very relevant. You often see Minsc and Boo alongside Delighted Halfling. But I don't want to tap out. So instead, we'll slate that to be in hand next turn. Just bank the second K command. Pass with Edict and Snapcaster Bolt up. If absolutely nothing happens, I'll probably K command back my Bowmasters and have them discard the old Raised Dead Raven's Crime. Well, looks like I'm going to have to do that a little sooner than I wanted to, because here is Teferi. This might still work out for us pretty well, though. Fearing losing their Teferi to a Bowmaster ping, they might plus, and that will walk right into Shieldred's Edict. Okay, that just happened. They discard Force and Negation. Would they have forced it if they could? Who knows? It being their turn, though, they do not have that option, and they do decide to plus, so that's pretty cool. And they also missed their land drop, so I have no clue if they are indeed playing more than 3 colors. Right now we're seeing Bant. Plague Engineer, yep. Let's go ahead and get our agency back. I really should have put Mountain on top of Plague Engineer. I kind of messed that up because now I'm without a land drop. But Teferi goes down. That is sweet. Now we have Tricky Bowmasters back. I definitely see now why they wanted to force my Bowmasters, though. Another Teferi. Okay. Well, let's play this out. We'll at least annoy the crap out of them. They're going to plus again. I don't love it, but I think Snap Edict is the way to go. And then I'll just leave a conspicuous mountain up. So I'm representing Lightning Bolt Hardcore, and maybe they won't just jam Minsc and Boo into that. They couldn't answer this last turn, so I don't think they will this turn either. And usually conventional wisdom is you definitely want to deal with the snap. Trading 1 for 1 on Teferis, though, that's pretty sweet. Well, I guess technically we traded 1 for 2 on Teferi that time because we have this sweet 2/1 body left over. And they're stuck on 3 lands. Definitely getting away with something here. Prismatic Ending. Shame. That's all they'll do, however. Ah, never mind. Brainstorm. Yeah, probably want to look for that land drop. They missed, though. That is good news for us. Start these 3-power beats. I'm not wild about this Reanimate. hitting Delighted Halfling is just kind of not great. The only thing we can uncounterably cast is our One of Narset, I think. And obviously, it might be hard to find that without any cantrips. Our Bowmasters are gone. I think we'll have to sandbag this for later. Now I could preemptively cast Plague Engineer and put it on Hamster. Just add 2 power to the board. That gives us kind of a 2-turn clock with K-Command Shock Mode. Or I could leave up K-Command and pressure their resources that way. Although that doesn't really do much against some of the things they could draw. We know there's not one coming in the next 2 turns because they're Brainstorm locked, but let's just give them more stuff to fight through. If we can get them to a low enough life total while they're still Brainstorm locked, then they'll have some real trouble to like a top deck Lightning Bolt or something. Oh, Life from the Loam, okay. So they did find a way to break their Brainstorm lock, but they just couldn't cast it. Here's another Delighted Halfling, sure. Alright, let's play Island and see if I can trick them into the old Kolagon Chump, I love to call. It's a little less obvious when you're not trading your creature for it. Like Endurance would usually love to take a block on Snapcaster Mage if it just looks like I'm pushing damage, but then, surprise, I get my snap back. But maybe they don't want to lose to Bolt Bolt. There are some things at play here. Okay, they're not scared. It doesn't feel great to Raven's Crime Shock here because they can just drop one of the lands that they picked up with Life from the Loam. Then again, there could be something really scary coming next turn in uncounterable fashion. Not that I can counter it anyways, but maybe they'd think twice about the line. Give us some time we don't deserve. I'm going to be a little patient, even though it feels like I really can't. As expected, there is Uro. We pretty much have this turn to find Cling to Dust. And they don't have any lands in hand, so we're going to get some value via this. That 3 life is going to be absolutely backbreaking, though. Ooh, the 1 ring. They must have multiples. Baleful Strix, alright. Play one of those. Force of Will. Well, we could reanimate Uro. Get an extra draw. If we hit a land, we have... No, we won't have hardcast Force of Will because we spend black to reanimate. Let's get 5 damage in. I suppose if we hit Lightning Bolt and they, for some reason, crack that fetch land before they escape Uro, I mean, that would never happen, but you never know. Alright. Ponder. Ooh, okay. It's a little risky. If I don't find a blue card off this Ponder, then we're in trouble. But if I find something like Cling to Dust, we're super paid. I think it's pretty likely we'll find a blue card at minimum. Okay, yep. As much as I don't want to draw 2 lands, this is just the way to go. If they Teferi first, then they won't have the mana to Uro. And gotta hope that their only permission is Spell Pierce, I guess. Alright, here comes the escape. Please hold. Does it work? Alright, very good. The mana bases in these decks have gotten increasingly greedy. They kind of put a lot of weight on Halfling, and they just assume that Halfling will fix their mana problems for them, and they're right most of the time, but we are a 4 Lightning Bolt deck, so we will try and not let them get away with that. And Blood Moon is one of our best tools to leverage, seeing as they just have so much more value than us. Uro is commonly called the card that killed Grixis Control, and they're not really wrong when they say that. A hard card to beat, but that's not to say we can't. I've beaten my fair share of Uros. Let's bring in Red Blast. Force of Will is a little untenable. Surgical Extraction is also a way we can fight Uro, but these decks are usually not hurting for win cons with their 1 rings, and I'm pretty sure Minsk and Boo is in the mix too. We didn't see one that game, or even a land that produced red mana. But I'm unconvinced. Got another Force. From the Catacombs is also one of the best ways to fight Uro. These games can go pretty long and grindy, and From the Catacombs not only exiles their Uro, as per the exile clause on this, but you also get all those sweet Uro accoutrements and also the initiative. They don't seem to play any X1s, so Bowmasters is a little tenuous, even though they usually do cantrip a lot. I'm inclined to leave that in, so instead let's cut and Reanimate against the Swords deck, and also 1 Grief. It's going to be pretty unlikely that we cheese a Troll win there. Although Reanimate gave us the redraw we needed to win in that last game. Pretty sweet. I think this hand is just fine. I don't think they're on Bowmasters. Usually these decks have to choose 1 color to go without, and I think this deck is probably likely more red than black, but I could be entirely wrong, and they could have just hid that information super well. They'll take a mulligan, that's awesome, and then they play Mystic Sanctuary, which is not usually a land you want to lead with. Good draws here include Grief. Land number 3, not mad about that. This gives us Basic Island, Basic Swamp, and then Volcanic Island can cast Blood Moon if we draw it. Okay, it seems like they've kept a 1-lander, because mulling to 5 is no fun, especially when you're in a Faramir. Given the texture of this game, I'd see no reason to scam a Grief or anything like that, so let's just get our guaranteed value and play out a Baleful Strix. Unless they catch up significantly, I think a Grief on turn 4 is a fine play. A 3-2 Evasive Beater, that also checks the hand. Fine with that. They do have a Brainstorm, however, that usually finds a land. Although I've definitely had many occasions where there are no lands and then you have no lands for the rest of the game. We'll see if our opponent is that unlucky. Okay, it did find a Ponder, which usually can shuffle and get you out of a bad situation. No shuffle, they find a Tundra. Okay. Beginning to look operational over there. And unfortunately, we're not really a deck that can leverage a stumble like that. I mean, this deck far more than any of my other Grixis Control decks because of the Reanimate package. I don't really see any reason to brainstorm just yet. We're kind of asking the questions, and they need to answer us first. And since they are all in on Delighted Halfling and its benefits, I think that it's okay to play another Baleful Strix out here and not get got by a Supreme Verdict or something like that. It's just good value. We're keeping our hand entirely stocked, and we're adding another body to the board. More lands. Alright. They will Swords to Strix. That is fine with me. That's the kind of interaction we want out of this deck. And a pass. They probably pondered and saw 1 land, but figured that was better than shuffling and maybe not seeing another land. Red Blast, that's awesome. I see no reason to not hold that up for the rest of the game. So instead of casting Grief right now, I think I'm just going to play a red source and then pass the turn. That's unfortunate for our opponent. These control decks require a lot of mana. I'm going to cast Grief. They're probably just 1 land drop away from complete pandemonium. The jump from 2 to 3 mana is pretty drastic in Legacy Control decks. Well, I don't want to take Uro, and Teferi gets got by Pyroblast, and our board is big enough that if they bounce anything, it's not going to work out for them very well. Hydroblast is tempting, but out of these, I think the One Ring is just the scariest. I don't have my Narset ready or anything. Now that we know how scary their hand is, we might want to start pondering for some stuff. I'm not going to, like I talked about in the Shadow match, I'm not going to Pyroblast a Brainstorm, even though it'll probably unlock everything for them. There we go, Flooded Strand. Might see a Prismatic Ending on this Strix. No. Maybe. Okay, a Ponder. I'm still not going to fight over that. I'd much rather hit a Teferi and just kind of tempo out from there. With a pair of Lightning Bolts, it's possible. We're attacking them down to 12 next turn. If they spend a lot of time casting Teferi or other things like that, and we have Pyroblasts, then 2 Lightning Bolts might just get the job done. I also like Shieldred's Edict. There's nothing too proactive to do here, unless I found another Grief off the Brainstorm. That might be worth doing. There are no targets for From the Catacombs or anything like that. You might want to just get rid of this Reanimate. We've made all our land drops. Surgical Extraction, okay, cool. Let's put back Reanimate and Mountain. Then Ponder. There's From the Catacombs. I guess we could bolt one of our own threats. Triple Bolt might just end the game next turn. Yeah, let's see what they do. If they play Uro, I'd rather hit it with From the Catacombs than Surgical at first. If they crack a fetch, oh, okay, no option, no time to do that. I was going to say if they crack a fetch, I might just Surgical the One Ring. Okay, Uro, sure. This will happen. I don't even really know what their hand is anymore, though, since they Brainstormed. They could be set up with like a Force of Will or something. One thing is for sure, they have 6 spells in hand. And also a Hydroblast ready. But if we can take the initiative, I'm pretty sure that'll wrap the game up. If that doesn't work, I'll just Surgical the Uros and still have Pyroblast up. Cool, we're in there. Now you want to make sure to stack this trigger so that you get the initiative mountain first so you can put it in off Uro, even though it doesn't really matter here since we have all the since we haven't made a land drop yet, but it's just good practice. Alright, there goes Uro. Delighted Halfling, okay. I'm gonna see if I can ignore that. It's a little aggro, but I think I'm gonna Forge. I already have a lot of selection and cards in hand. They'll probably cast Swords to Plowshares on Grief, I'm thinking, but we'll see. A hyper-aggressive line would be to Surgical on Swords and then use that to decide whether we're going to the Lost Well or the Forge, but I also just like going to the Trap afterwards. Really put the pressure on. You know what, I'll put it on Baleful Strix. That way my Menace Beater is still around. Okay, that just happened. Kolaghan's Command. Alright, we're all packed up on burn. If they can deal with this, then they'll also have to deal with lethal burn damage. They got a Red Blast for Baleful Strix, sure. Okay, the menace damage connects, which is pretty cool, because that means now we can push some additional action by casting from the Catacombs on Baleful Strix, because that will put us in the trap. And if they deal with this with 4 cards in hand, then we'll also have a double lightning bolt. Okay, but it looks like we are in there. Draw a card, or trap first. It's pretty hard to deal with unless you have like a stifle. Okay, cool, we did it. Beating an Uro deck 2-0 is very rare, but this is the kind of Grixis Control deck that can do it. Really good pressure, really good clock, and still a lot of the value engines like from the Catacombs. Jumping in, round 3. We're 3 for 3 on die rolls, and we're up against Solid Snake. Metal Gear? I think we're going to keep this hand. 1 land is pretty sketchy, but we have plenty of interaction, for free even. But let's take it slow at first, and see what happens. Get a feel for the matchup. We're getting Thought Seized off the bat from an Underground Sea Polluted Delta. I used to read this as like Storm, but now it could really be anything. Could even be Delver. Yeah, that's okay. I think we'll be able to get a lot of information judging on what they take. Alright, they take Brainstorms. Maybe they're hoping that we just don't hit any lands and then fail to function. They don't seem to be like a fast combo deck, because then they would have probably taken Force of Will. We draw a good card in Ponder, and I'm wondering if we should Grief first to make sure this Ponder goes off, and it'll also give us an idea of what we want to ponder for. Although I kind of already have an idea, I just want land drops. And if it's like Bug Scam or something like that, 2 for 1ing myself when these could be good 4-drop threats. I don't know. Just doesn't seem good. Okay, they're gonna Daze. That's okay with me. It's not incredibly common for Delver to lead on Thoughtseize, so it could be Shadow again. That deck has been very popular lately. Brainstorm. Sure. Alright. Hitting some lands. No red source is kind of a bummer. Let's go ahead and hide Baleful Strix on top and play a basic Swamp. So we'll draw Strix next turn. Cast it. Ideally do not get Bowmastered. And then we'll be through our Brainstorm lock with an uncastable Bolt. Ooh, Urza's Saga. Fascinating. Daze Urza's Saga. I'm blanking on what this could be, because I'm pretty sure Cephalid Breakfast only has Cabal Therapy as discard spells. Now, should I be prepared to force a Bowmasters or grief a Bowmasters out of their hand first? They'll probably Bowmasters in response to a grief anyways, and then I take something else. I do want this Baleful Strix to resolve though. It's in there. And there's no Bowmasters flashed in. And they'll Brainstorm again, sure. Sculpting the perfect hand. Hopefully it doesn't beat Force of Will. And a Ponder. Wow. Plenty of cantrips. They will shuffle though, and then a Tundra. This looks exactly like Cephalid Breakfast, except they have Thoughtseize, which I guess could be some new technology. Oh yeah, there's an Illusionist. Well, this is tricky. There's no guarantee I'll get red mana for this Lightning Bolt. And they can get a Shuko off the Urza's Saga. So I probably do need to fight over this. Cool. I'm sure they totally don't have another one. Reanimate. Let's find out, huh? Also, the classic saying, you can't Thoughtseize the top of the deck. They do have another one. Okay. And a step through. So do I just take Illusionist and step through? Yeah, I have to. If they hit another one on top, then you got me. And it also is too bad I can't take this to Fairy. This is what I signed up for. Opponent says brutal. Yeah, scamming doesn't feel great. I think there's a bit of a crisis in Modern right now because of that. If I can find some red mana though next turn, I'll be feeling better. Yep, there's the Shuko. They don't want Retrofitter Foundry. I don't know if this is a more all-in version of the deck since they have Thoughtseize. Okay, Teferi. So we're not getting comboed right now anyways. Let's see what they do with this. Ponder, okay. They're going to ponder first, and they take a shuffle. Okay. I agree, opponent. That was a good find. Alright, they bounce the Grief. We hit Brainstorm. First things first, let's attack Teferi off the board. Can't do anything without that gone. And then really hope to find some red mana off this Brainstorm. I feel like mathematically we'll probably do to find a red source. The only non-red land in the deck left is a basic Swamp. And Underground Sea, I forgot. Okay, Kolaghan's Command is wonderful. Let's float Grief on top. If I don't have to shuffle that away, that's cool. Although I probably will, just because I don't think I'll have a chance to not hold up mana for the rest of the game. Ponder, sure. Another shuffle there. And then a Brainstorm. They might be through all their cantrips by this point. Nomads, okay. Tricky thing about this is that since they have two pieces of this combo, I think I have to Shock Shatter. You can't really fight the Nomads once this Illusionist has resolved. And yeah, I just don't think I have the luxury to tap out for a 4-drop anymore. So let's go ahead and shuffle. Not to mention they have Daze. And I can't really afford to have that be turned on at any point going forward. Another Bolt is cool. I wish I had 2 red sources though. That would make things a lot easier. Let's hang out. Cabal Therapy. Yikes. Well, maybe they won't think we'll have 2. Although if they have the Illusionist, yeah, this is a bad spot. If they have an Illusionist in hand, I just have to K-Command here. It's going to suck to lose 2 Lightning Bolts, but it's more important to not lose. I hope they just name Grief, though. Nope. Yeah, they hit. Opponent's having a good time. Force of Will. Okay. That could be useful. We shall see. And now they're going to step through for a Cephalid. They're just missing a combo piece. Yep. Alright. Looks like they got us. Just take a look at the deck. Orm's Chant. That is good to know about. But I'm not seeing any Staff of the Storyteller. They might be in the side, or they might just not really have a mid-range plan, and they might just be all in on the combo, since they also have Thoughtseize. Seems like an aggressive slant. I'm not giving up any information by letting them do this. Every deck has Force of Will. Theoretically, if we had Cling to Dust here, and they name correctly, because they haven't flipped the Oracle or Dread Return yet, unfortunately they would still beat that. Their last card in hand is Daze, and we have 4 mana. The name is Brazen Borrower. Huh. So if we had Cling to Dust, we would have won this. That's okay. This is one of our better matchups, provided they don't completely run us over with the mid-range plan. I like a couple red blasts, one of each for Cabal therapy purposes. Plague Engineer stops the combo and can also stop construct production. Sometimes they won't have another artifact to get them above X1. Surgical Extraction is free interaction that stuffs the combo. Or if the combo is stuffed, you can take out their fair plan. And I like to side a little bit like it's Delver. Albeit they don't have Red Blast, so I keep Narset around, but I do cut the expensive stuff. I'll keep 2 forces since I'm on the draw. We can cut an Edict because they're pretty slow. And I'll just leave 1 force. Creature combo, we're an interactive deck. Let's do it. Some people elect to bring in Meltdown. It does answer part of the combo in Shuko, but until they show me that Retrofitter Foundry or Staff the Storyteller, I don't think it's worth it. They seem like a pretty linear, aggressive version of the Breakfast combo. I don't think this hand really does enough. 3 drops and 4 lands. That's better. Free interaction. Got the Troll. That can make up a land drop. That also turns on Reanimates that come. And we'll see how fast they want to go. Starting off with a Ponder. And they shuffle. Okay. Let's go ahead and Swamp Cycle this Troll. Grab a Badlands. Got the 1 of Edict right here. Okay. I'm going to cast Strix. If they daze this, then they're further away from the combo. Snapcaster Mage, alright. Potent alongside Surgical, if they counter the first one. Okay, a Brainstorm. Into Fetch Land, and then they crack that. And then they will Thoughtseize, sure. Surgical Extraction down. Next turn they'll have that magic 3 mana for the combo. Reanimate. Might need to hold on to that. I wanted to at least be able to beat Daze. Or is it Saga? Sure. And they'll pass after that. There is a land, okay. Now's a fine time to reanimate this. And really put the clock on. They do have 7 cards though, so might be pretty hard. Hoping to find something pretty disruptive here. Pyroblast, that's a good one. Then I am going to attack with Strix because that is the difference between a 2-turn and a 1-turn clock. Swords, okay. That is preferable. And they're going to Wizard Cycle. Okay. We will have to contend with that combo. And I think I'd rather stuff them at the very end, given that they have so many cards in hand, and I'm not going to be able to get them dead really quickly. So I think I'd rather Pyroblast their counterspell than Nomads on Core. Okay. That really narrows down what they could have in hand. And we are beating Daze. Also, there was no point in trying to fight that since they also had a Shuko out. And they didn't cast Orm's Chant, so yeah, I say go for it. Since our relevant interactive spell is in the graveyard, if they do mill over Cabal Therapy before like Dread Return like that, we can just flash in Snapcaster Mage and target Surgical Extraction. Now I'm starting to think that maybe their Oracle is in hand. Oh no, there it is. Okay. And they do have a Force. I'm only counting 3 right now. Alright, let's boogie. Oh, that resolved, okay. Now it's Surgical. Target Thassa's Oracle. They will force, pitching Narcomoeba. Let's Red Blast. Do you have Flusterstorm? No, okay. Now we have to play on the draw, which is a little scary. So maybe I take another Force of Will there. Definitely want all the griefs. Maybe I just have to side out Narset in this situation. Things are going to move pretty quickly, so maybe I'll also grab a Flusterstorm. And the Edict just is not good enough, I think. Grab another Pyroblast, I think, and also cut. I don't love it, but I'll cut Narset and then a Troll. Let's hope for a good opening 7. Yeah, this looks good. Cling to Dust, Lightning Bolt, Brainstorm. That all works for me. They're going to kick off with a Nomads. Strix. Okay. Well, if they have Daze, Force of Will, Daze will at least set themselves back a turn. We might have a shot after that. But if they have Force of Will, then we're in some trouble. Alright, that worked. Urza's Saga, sure. Brazen Barber, alright. Land Go over there. I feel like we're going to be using our mana a lot for the rest of the game, so maybe now's the opportunity to Brainstorm. I like seeing Flusterstorm. I don't need 2 Strix. It might be a while before I have the opportunity to cast one. Actually, I'll just hold up all my interaction and be able to pay for days. They'll probably make a Construct here. If nothing else happens this turn, I can cast Petty Theft on a Construct. But they're just floating. Yeah, they're just going to float. Does that mean they have... Okay, they're going to Thoughtseize. That's tricky. But I suppose I just need to let this happen. I do have 2 layers. I've got Cling, Flusterstorm. I also have Brazen Borrower. No response. Yeah, maybe Cling to Dust is the right take. It is fortunate that we took out the Nomads on turn 1. Brazen Borrower can stop the Shuko Illusionist chain, whereas it cannot stop the Nomads Illusionist chain. And if they're really considering Kolaghan's command, then it seems like they do not have Daze. Okay, they take Cling to Dust. There's the Illusionist, yep. I will do what I can and cast Petty Theft. They got a free Narcomoeba from my Petty Theft. Okay, that's bounced. 2 Force of Wills hit the bin, so how likely is it that they have another one? They're going to equip the Construct token and bash for 3. Alright, we're in some trouble. I think land is probably the best draw here. Reanimate. Not very helpful. I think I need to ponder. Orcish Bowmasters. Probably not good enough. But it might be all we have. Or I guess Kolaghan's Command is better. It seems pretty likely they have a Daze, though. It seems like a lot to ask that they wouldn't have Daze or Force of Will or something to beat K-Command. Okay, we hit a land anyways. I guess I'm just casting Baleful Strix. Looking to hit Grief or something? Nope. Well, if they go for it, and I think they definitely will. Yeah, they even have Cabal Therapy. We'll concede the game and go to 2-1. Super close. I think if our cantrips panned out differently, this is a progression we could definitely have beaten. But that's Magic. And we'll be back for the next one. Let's bounce back in round number 4. I'll keep this hand. Opponent takes a mulligan, down to 5. Down to 4. This could just be a force check, but hopefully 4 cards aren't enough to go off on turn 1 and we can grief away whatever's going on. Probably pitching from the Catacombs. Oh, they got a Dark Ritual. Entomb. Sire of Insanity. Alright. I'll probably just scoop to that. That was quite a turn 1. That indeed was one heck of a force check. Fortunately, even though we only played 1 turn, I know exactly what I need. Surgical Extraction, Flusterstorm, Spell Pierce. I'll take a Hydroblast. Hitting Faithless Looting can be good sometimes, and increasing your blue card count is also nice. Cut K-Command, cut Plague Engineer, shave on Strix, and Edict. You might think Edict is actually pretty good here, and it can do some really good damage control, but in the long run, those creatures are already getting massive value whenever they hit the field, so we'll just be looking to stop them before they get there. And Brazen Borrower does a better job of that anyways, since it also has 3/1 beater on the other side. And I'll cut 1 Lightning Bolt, even though Reanimator does trend pretty mid-range these days, with the Douthie Voidwalker and Orcish Bowmasters. Alright, gonna look to mulligan this hand. There's just no interaction. This one has a Surgical. They're keeping 7 though. That's really disheartening. They don't know what I'm on. So maybe they kept something a little more mild this time. I'll cut Lightning Bolt. Yeah, they have the Unmask. So if they got it, they got it. Dark Ritual. Entomb. Uh-oh. And Exhume. Alright. I do have a land this time, so I'm less inclined to just scoop right away. Force of Will. Don't fetch land to maximize our shot at drawing another land. Spell Pierce, not useful. Realistically, I've kind of 1 more turn to find anything. Not much of a match here, and it unfortunately looks like we will fall to 2-2 after an amazing 2-0 start. Against Reanimator, you definitely want more than 1 level of protection, because a lot of the time they will just have a discard spell to break through that 1 piece you have, like I just had 1 Surgical. However, I don't know if it's worth mulling to 5 for. Definitely threw back the 7 that didn't have interaction, and then on a 6 with 1 piece. If you're going to go to 5 and look for 2 pieces. I don't really know how great that is. If you look at the rest of their hand, they had I guess just a couple lands. So I guess 2 pieces of interaction would have beaten it. Lightning bolt. Okay, we're just dead. And yeah, take those words to heart and be back for the finals. Welcome back to match 5. Gonna try and put up that positive record that I know this deck deserves. Our opponent has skipped through turn 1. I don't think this means that they are Monolith Dredge, because then they would have taken the play. They chose to play first. We draw a Grief, but we have no black card to pitch, and I don't know if we'd want to do that anyways. I'm a little more interested in finding out what's going on, and we have Force of Will if it's something mega fast. Oh, they'll skip again. It must be Monolith Dredge. Yep, there's Golgari Thug. Okay. Curious that they took the play and not the draw. It's going to be very difficult to win in game 1, as is usually the case against Dredge decks. Although I guess Troll and Reanimate would be the way to do it. We also have a Lightning Bolt for those last 2 points and 3 Troll attacks. I'll hang on to Grief just in case I need to clear a bunch of bridges for relatively free. Get that Evoke trigger. But I definitely want to dig for Reanimate, so I'll hang on to Brainstorm and probably put back the Brazen Borrower. And ideally I won't have to force or pitch this Brainstorm. Not the craziest dredge there. We do see a Prize Amalgam though, that could spell trouble in the future. Let's pick up that Brazen Borrower again. And now let's shuffle the deck. Play out Underground Sea and Brainstorm. There's the Reanimate, just like we drew up. I wonder if Chancellor is better to pick. It doesn't deal as much damage. It's still pretty evasive though, although it does get blocked by Narcomoebas, and they're probably not really looking to cast that many spells, but maybe. I'm going to check their hand first. That'll clear that bridge. And I changed my mind on Lightning Bolt. If there's nothing better to take than another bridge, we'll definitely put the Evoke trigger second for that reason. Balustrade Spy, that can mill their whole deck. Cabal Therapy, better in the graveyard. Pretty much all of these are better in the graveyard. Opponent is wondering why I would Grief the Dredge deck. And they'll probably figure out why when their Bridge from Below gets exiled. I think the least harmful of these is probably Shambling Shell. They already have another one in the graveyard. And then Cabal Therapy, they are never going to cast that for black, so I'll keep that there. And then they won't be able to discard the hand size either. Yeah, definitely not Icarid. Evoke. Get the bridge out. Reanimate this. I think that's better. Or can they even win if I hit the Chancellor? Because I think they are going to be pretty reliant on like Dread Return stuff, and all their stuff will just get countered. I already have Force of Will though, not really doing anything else. Yeah, let's just get this game over as fast as I can. Is 3 versus 4 turns even that much of a difference though? This is more evasive, honestly. Let's see what they can do. Nether Shadow is a problem. That'll get back some amalgams. Let's see if I can ponder into Cling to Dust or something. Another Force. Not super great. Another Grief, and then a Lightning Bolt. I probably need that. I probably just need some reach to get over the line here. And then next turn I can Brainstorm and continue the search. Flayer of the Hatebound. That is a pretty good one. And I guess Nether Shadow did not trigger because its conditions weren't met. Next turn it will. Let's go ahead and Lightning Bolt face there. Icarid hits the yard, yep. Draw Brainstorm. Probably shuffle first just to give us the most looks possible. But I think this should do it. The force backup is kind of nice. I didn't do what I said I was going to. Yeah, if I cast Grief, it can block and also they won't get to discard what they want. That's pretty good. Although I think Brazen Borrower is probably just better. Bouncing that crucial third creature so they can't get a block on the troll is good. Amalgams will enter tapped, worth noting. They'll need a lot of Narcomoebas to make this work. They don't hit any, that's good. They do have Dread Return, but that does not help. Icarid will leave at the end step. Alright, Icarid coming in. Will fall to 9. Dread Return on Flayer of the Hatebound. Definitely want to Force a Will that. Tons of Amalgam triggers. We'll have 3 hit the battlefield. They will be tapped. And yeah, opponent scoops it up knowing that this troll will slam for 6. Stealing game 1 against Dredge is fantastic. Let's bring in Plague Engineer, Surgical Extraction, Flusterstorm, because it seems like Dread Return is kind of the card that they're reliant on the most. I don't really know if Thoughtseize is good. As they are a monolith deck, they kind of would prefer to have everything in their graveyard. I don't think they want really anything in their hand. Meltdown doesn't do anything. Blood Moon doesn't do anything. I guess Spell Pierce has some text on it. Opposition Agent is a creature that could die. The Edicts are pretty poor. Bowmasters do clock. Narset is a blue card, but probably isn't doing that much. Grief also clocks, but yeah, it's ETB is a bit of a liability. Even though the Evoke is really nice for nuking bridges, so we'll keep 2 maybe. Reanimate seems solid. I wouldn't mind taking their Hogak, that's for sure. Same with From the Catacombs. Yeah, we'll just cut the Griefs. And also 1 Lightning Bolt. Or traditionally against graveyard decks I cut Kolaghan's Command. But this is kind of a... Yeah, let's actually bring the Griefs in for the Evoke. And as you saw, you can usually pick a card that doesn't really cause too much damage. Taking Shambling Shell with Grief did not cause us to lose the game. It didn't actually really affect anything. And it took away their ability to choose what card they wanted to discard. Alright, they're going to give me the play. I don't think this hand is good enough. Opposition Agent, not really doing anything in the matchup. Reanimate could steal some stuff. Stealing a Dredger would actually be pretty funny. Brainstorm could look for some additional stuff. Let's try it. It's weird. But Reanimate, it could be a weird kind of time lock that also adds to our board. Not ready to bolt face yet. Icarid. Well, I don't think that's worth reanimating. It does not seem like they had a Dredger in hand then. Or they're just kind of feeling things out. Okay, there's a Dredger. Cling to Dust, that's some nice insurance. See if that works. Street Wraith. Ooh. Sneaky. Alright. Brainstorm. Okay, Force of Will is kind of nice. Probably don't need Opposition Agent. Maybe later in the game when we need to get it over. And also probably put back the Lightning Bolt. So Street Wraith, kind of getting a 2-for-1 here, countering my Reanimate and drawing a card. Let's cast Cling to Dust. If they have another Street Wraith, then we walked into that one. Cool. Crisis averted, although they do counter our Reanimate like that. It's already turn 3. We'll have a escapable Cling to Dust soon. Icarid's going to slam for 3 here. And then let's see what they discard. Another Icarid. Okay. From the Catacombs. That's an interesting one. I'll take another Cling to Dust, I think. Or do I just need lands now? I have Reanimate that can stop something else. Yeah, I think just drawing these 2 cards afterwards would be too bad. Let's shuffle. Blue card for Force, don't hate it. No action there, not surprising. Usually don't want to discard or exile your Icarids to your Icarids. Kind of want those around forever. Let's see, Flash and Bowmasters here. Any future Street Wraiths will get us some value. Prized Amalgam, okay. Land number 4. I think we can handle an Amalgam. If we really want, we can cast Cling to Dust on it. That would require them to exile one of their Icarids, though. Which might be a good deal. Yeah, they're not moving on that. They're fine with the Amalgam in the yard. Now I'm kind of feeling like that Plague Engineer would have been pretty solid. Put it on Horror. Snapcaster Mage. Okay. Another solid pickup. I could snap and ponder, look for a land. I could just Cling to Dust the Stinkweed Imp and play it slow since I do have a clock here. We'll attack, speaking of which. Them being at 13 though, I think I like the idea of getting the game over with. Let's ponder, look for a land, reanimate Stinkweed Imp. Next turn from the Catacombs. Okay, well, it's a bit roundabout, but it is a land. Swamp Cycling. Troll of Khazad-dûm, get Underground Sea. And it is kind of tempting, actually, just to hit the Troll. But I can just hit that with From the Catacombs. It's more important that they don't do anything. That does trigger their Amalgam. Sickening Shoal. That's pretty cool. I'll force that. I hope they don't have another one. Exiling Balustrade Spy. 3/3 is not insignificant. It's a pretty scary body. They're not removing the Icarids, and also they don't discard to hand size because of the shoal, so that's kind of cool. Passing as normal. Baleful Strix, no time for that. Let's get the Troll and the initiative. Alright, as many games do, it ends with From the Catacombs on the stack, and we'll end up with a 3-2. I think this deck is really powerful. I've been having a lot of success with it. I think we had a really great start against Shadow, and 4-color Pile is a much better matchup than previous with like a more classic Grixis Control list. And I think we just hit a little bit of variance against Cephalid Breakfast, but that's a deck that is going to just completely punish any stumbles with its lightning fast combo. So that's not super surprising. And then sometimes you're going to lose to Reanimator. They had turn 1s on both games, and in game 2 we had interaction, but they also had a way to strip the interaction. So what are you going to do? I think this was a fine showing. I'm excited to keep jamming it, keep making some small tweaks. After this league, I feel like it could go in either direction. You could go even lower to the ground, remove a land, add another troll, or you could add another Narset, something else on the top end. I think From the Catacombs is a really nice top end card though, since it has the escape on it. And yeah, maybe I will revisit this deck soon because I feel like there's still a lot of more work to do on it. And with that, I will leave it there. I hope y'all have a great rest of your day and keep the Grixis dream alive out there.